Oh, loss by 3. Okay. Loss 2. It's 342. That's pretty good. I think 100 and something. Sure. Mayor Day or whatever, and South Carolina. They played this week together. That's 4. Yeah, that's 4, something like that. Bless you.
Just one. Oh, just one.
This will be Thursday. It will consist of questions from 9.1 to 9.3. I will not record it, of course. I won't record class Thursday, and I will take up the pretest after class, so that way you will send it to me through the secretaries at the Oconee campus, Easley campus, and Pendleton campus. So that's how you're going to be counted here, and I'm also going to look at the test. So make sure you're here. If you're not here, then you won't be counted here, and you won't have an idea of what's going to be on the test. So just go ahead and tell you that right now. It's going to cover 9.1 to 9.3, and it will cover most of the identities that we covered. We left off the other day. I had about 4 or 5 more, and that's what we're going to do today. We're going to finish those 4 or 5 more that we had, and I'm going to let y'all. I'm not going to give you new material, because if I give you new material, then you're going to get confused. So we're just going to go with the 4 or 5 left that I have. You are allowed to bring in your cheat sheet. For the Anderson campus, I'll bring in a cheat sheet if y'all don't have it, but I told y'all which one to use. I told you like 3 or 4 times which one to print out. If you ain't got enough sense to print it out, then I'm sorry. Okay, so I think we left off with one like this. 1 minus sine squared x over 1 plus cosine squared x equal to cosine squared x. I think that's what, or cosine of x. I think we may have done it, and if that's the case, then we'll do it again. So go ahead and see what you would do. Of course, you'd use the conjugate, because the conjugate is like staring you right at the face right there with the 1 plus cosine squared. So we're going to use the conjugate. I'll give you the next step, and then after that, you do it. So 1 minus sine squared x over x is equal to cosine x. And we're going to multiply by 1 minus cosine squared x. All right? So finish it. And that's supposed to be 1 minus cosine right here. I'm sorry. I think I did that last time.
You did.
There you go. That will give you 1 minus sine squared x times 1 minus cosine squared, cosine of x, over, I'm going to put that in parentheses, over 1 squared minus what? Cosine squared x. Okay, finish it. Can everybody see the screen?
Yes.
I heard a blip. I don't know if they can see the damn thing or not. If they can't, then they'll say something evidently. Not in the mood for this quiet crap. Got a question? You better ask it. So that's going to give you 1
You trying to be a gamer.
parentheses
Yeah, daily.
sine
This is $18.
squared x minus sine squared x cosine of x, right? Over, well, I don't want to do that yet. I forgot to change the bottom, sorry. Change the bottom to what? Sine squared of x?
Yes.
There you go. It's a whole lot better to do it that way. So sine squared of x, 1 minus cosine of x, over sine squared of x, and sine squareds cancel. And that's going to leave you with 1 minus parentheses, 1 minus cosine of x, and that's going to leave you with 1 minus 1 plus cosine of x, and the 1's cancel, and that leaves you with cosine of x. And I think we did that one last time. I'm not sure. Okay? And that's one like that is a good test question. Now remember, I could change 1 or 2 things and it would just change the whole world on that question. So you better make sure you do your homework on 9.1, 9.2, and 9.3. Next one. Hopefully some of you are starting to see that these are pretty easy once you do. How many are we doing? 6. We haven't done 6.
No.
We've done
no
like
way.
16 or 20. Cosine of x over 1 minus the sine of x plus 1 minus the sine of x over cosine of x is equal to 2 secant of x. Again, the conjugate is kind of putting the flag up. Give y'all a minute or two. I believe this is the movingest class. 30 minutes after the class started, people are still moving around, zipping papers, zipping bags, moving around. Those microphones on these cameras just amplify everything. So what's the conjugate of the denominator?
1 plus sine of x.
1 plus the sine of x. 1 plus the sine of x. Okay? So on the conjugate, we're going to get 1 minus the sine squared, and 1 minus the sine squared is the what?
Cosine squared.
Cosine squared. So you're going to have cosine squared on the bottom, and then cosine times 1 plus sine of x. I'll do that, so let me erase it next to this. That to cosine now over cosine x times 1 plus the sine of x plus 1 minus sine of x over sine of x equals to secant of x. And what happens to the cosine in the bottom cosine squared? Going to cancel. You're going to get a cosine right here. And that's going to give you a common denominator of cosine of x. So you're going to get 1 plus sine of x plus 1 minus sine of x over the cosine of x. And 1 plus 1 is what? 2. And then the signs cancel. And then you're left with 1 over cosine of x, which is 2 secant x. Hopefully you're starting to see, that the algebra is mixing in with the identities. And that's the whole purpose of me showing you all of these. To show you that the algebra can mix into the identities and bring out what you should have learned back in college algebra. I mean, I could teach you these identities and tell you to memorize them, but if I don't show you how they morph into the algebra that you learned, you'll never catch it. All right, sum and difference. Cosine of 7 pi over 12. They want you to use the sum and difference. What's the first thing you do when you see a problem like this? Find out where you what? Where you are. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to do 7 pi over 12 multiplied by 180 over pi. Pi's cancel. I'm going to rewrite 7 times 2 times 90, right? 2 times 90, which is 2 times 45, which is 2 times 5 times 9. Somebody check that for me. And then 12 is 2 times 2 times 3.
Yeah.
And there's 3 times 3 here. So the 2's cancel, the 2's cancel, the 3's cancel. And that leaves you with, I can't see, 7 times 5 is what? 35, 105? Forget this, because nobody speaks in terms of 7 pi. Cosine of 105 degrees. Now, go to it. 60 plus 45, hint, hint. We did one like this in class, I believe. I think we did 2 or 3. I wondered who it was. So as I told you, the cosine of 60 plus the cosine of what?
45.
And if you have your identity sheet, that's cosine, cosine minus sine, sine. Cosine, cosine minus sine, sine. 60, 45, 60, 45. Now all you have to do is draw out the special angles and write down what you need. I'll let y'all do that. Mr. Swords.
Yes, sir.
I got your email. You need to take it up with Mr. Swords at the Easley campus. For some
Okay.
reason, the Pendleton campus believes that all their calculuses should be taught at the Pendleton campus.
Yeah. Notice that.
Yeah. So, you know, I don't understand what the use in having a community campus is if you're going to teach all the classes at the Pendleton campus, but we all know that the sun revolves around the Pendleton campus. So, what you need to do is you need to ask Mr. Swords about that at the Easley campus. I'll be glad to teach it, but they haven't offered it here in Polycom yet.
Okay.
So, but if we have enough students that want it, then you can ask for it. But you got to have enough students. That's the main thing.
Mark, will you say
For the next
something?
class.
Will you say something? Or
Yep. Talk to Tim Bowen down here. Tim Bowen and Brian Swords, and there's one at the Oconee campus. His name is Tim Curry, I think. So what is the cosine of 60?
Cosine is 1/2.
And what is the cosine of 45?
Root of 2 over 2.
Good job. I am impressed.
Well,
Minus sine of 60.
sine of square root of 3 over 2.
Square root of 3 over 2. And the sine of 45.
Square root of 2 over 2.
Square root of 2 over 2. And now you just do the math. Square root of 2 over 4. Minus square root of 6 over 4. And I believe we did this one in class. Square root of 2 minus square root of 6 over what? 4. That's a test question, so you better make sure you know how to do it. I believe we did the square root of 15. I think we did the cosine of 15 in class, did we not? Because I remember you two asking about it. One of y'all asked about it. Cosine of 15 degrees.
Oh, yeah.
We did it. I think there, if you look back, I think we did 2 or 3 problems like this
Yeah, it was
that day. So that means you got 4 in your notes, probably.
45 minus 30. Oh, yeah.
All right, let's try nerding. I think I took that into account, but we didn't do the tangent, did we? I think we did the cosine or the sine. So now we're going to do the tangent of pi over 12. Of course, the first thing you do is you throw away the pi over 12 and change it to what? 15 degrees. So this is the tangent of 15 degrees. I remembered we did 15 degrees, but instead of doing the sine and the cosine, I changed it to tangent. So go ahead. This is another test question. Probably talking about 8 to 10 questions. You're probably talking about 5 or 6 identities that I'm going to hit you on. So you're talking about 10 to 15 questions. And the only thing you're going to need is pencil, paper, and your cheat sheet. So you break up tangent into what? Tangent of 45 minus what?
30.
30. And that's equal to the tan minus the tan over 1 plus tan, right?
Yeah.
Have y'all figured out how I memorized them when I was a student? That's how I memorized them. I didn't worry about the A and B. I just 1 minus tan minus tan over 1 plus tan. That's how I remembered them. But so that's going to be 45 and 30 and 45 and 30. And get your special angles out again. This time you can't rely on the sine, the cosine. You got to do the tan. That's 1 minus the square root of 3 over 3. Over 1 plus 1 square root of 3 over 3. Y'all check me.
How-
Wait, I think it's-
Where did you
I think
get
it's
3
root
over 3?
I think it's root 3.
Oh, wait.
What did I just say?
For tangent.
Tangent of 30 is square root of 3 over 3, is it not?
Oh, yeah, it is.
Are y'all on drugs?
I wish.
No,
Not currently.
never. Never in my life.
Oh my gosh, did I actually hear something from the Pendleton campus?
Well, someone's got to get
Was that y'all actually smiling or laughing? Well, you know what's going to happen. If you smile or interact at the Pendleton campus, somebody's going to beat you up outside in the hallway. So you better be quiet. So, what do you get? Well, you get basically 1 minus the square root of 3 over 3 over 1 plus the square root of 3 over 3. And then take your conjugate rule and do the conjugate of 1 plus the square root of 3 over 3. And I'm going to multiply by what? 1 minus the square root of 3 over 3. Now, you could easily change this into 3 over 3 and 3 over 3. You could do that if you wanted to. But 1 minus square root of 3 over 3. And when you do that, you're going to get shortcut number 3 on the bottom, which is equal to 1 squared minus the square root of 3 over 3 squared. And on the top, you're going to get shortcut number 2, which is 1 minus 2 square root of 3 over 3 plus square root of 3 over 3 quantity squared. And the bottom is going to be 1 minus, what's the square root of 3 quantity squared? 3 over 9, which reduces down to what?
1/3.
1/3. And the top is going to give you 1 minus 2 square root of 3 over 3. And the square root of 3 is going to be 3 over 9, which is 1/3. And now it's just basic math. 1 plus 1/3 is going to be 5/3 minus 2 square root of 3 over 3 over 4/3, or 4 over 4. 3 over 3 minus 1 over 3 is 2/3. And when you divide by a fraction, you multiply by the what? Reciprocal. So that's going to be 3/2 multiplied by 5/3, 2/3, square root of 3 And of course, if you distribute this, you're going to get, the 3's are going to cancel, and you're going to be left with 5 halves minus the 3's, and the 2 is going to cancel, and that's going to be leaving you with the square root of 3. And you can reduce that down with common denominators also, if you decided to do common denominators. Next one. Again, these are just kind of redundant, but like I said, I guarantee you somebody's learning them. And if I can teach 1 or 2 people that's never learned them to learn them, then I've done my job. Tan of 23 pi over 12. Remember, I'm not here to teach the people that invented the identities. All right, do that one. This one you probably have not seen before. So it's a really good test question. I'll go ahead and give you a hint. It's 345 degrees. So you might as well go ahead and quit, right?
Where's my puppy?
345 degrees.
Nice.
Mr. Swords, I had another question. I had 2 or 3 students ask me, they're in Math 102. Do y'all know about Math 102? Math 102 feeds into Math 110. Everybody with me? So we've got a Math 102 class here. It's got at least 12 students in it. And what do you think they're asking about at the Anderson campus? College algebra. Do we offer college algebra next semester at the Anderson campus? No. What's the use in having community campuses if you're not going to offer what?
Classes.
The classes.
All right.
But they can take it at the Pendleton campus because the sun revolves around the Pendleton campus. So.
Can't pray about
So what is 345? Well, yeah, but 300 is not a special angle. So you suck.
Thank you. I know. We do 15. No, we don't. Oh, looks like you suck. Me too. It's gotta be minus. Oh.
Now, why do you have to be careful on this one? Because you're not in Kansas anymore. You're not in the first quadrant anymore. Where are you?
The second and the third.
You're in the second and third, so you got to be careful on your signs. So you're talking about 120. Well, 120 is a 60-degree what? 60-degree angle, Hubert. That's right, class.
Good job, Hubert.
1, square root of 3, 2. And then the 225 is 40 plus what? 180. So it's in the what?
Third.
It's in this.
Yeah, it's root 2 over 2.
Here we go. 1, 1, square root of 2. But the negative, the 1 is negative on the, so we'll make this a positive. We'll make this a negative 1. This is a negative 1, and this is a negative 1. This is a negative 1, and this is a positive 3. So it's going to make a difference. All right, get to it. tan tan, 1 minus tan tan. And if you know it's minus on the bottom, then it's going to be plus on the top. Tan tan, 1 minus tan tan. 120, 25, 120, 225. Negative square root of 3 plus 1 over 1 minus parentheses negative square root of 3 times 1. Now it's just a matter of using a little bit of algebra and a little bit of basic math. So that's going to be square root of 3 plus 1, oops, over 1, and I'm going to look at this, that's a negative square root of 3 times 1 is negative square root of 3, but a minus 1 plus the square root of 3. Something tells me I got a sign wrong. Nope. Yeah, it's supposed to be negative square root of 3 right there on top. I must have not wrote it right here. There we go. That looks better. How did I know something was wrong? What's the square root of 3 plus 1 over the square root of 3 plus 1? That'd be 1, so that's not the answer.
Yeah. So
that's how I knew there was a sign wrong. So you got a conjugate. Conjugate of what? 1 plus 3. So 1 plus the square root of 3 is 1 minus the square root of 3. Again, how much of this question is new identity stuff?
not,
Just right here,
not much.
right here is new identity stuff. Right there. The rest of it is all algebra and basic math. In which I told you before, you're going to see a lot of that in Calc 1. Not with identities, but just basic limits. And with derivatives, with the difference quotient, a lot of it falls on nothing but 100 or about 90% algebra. So if you suck at algebra, you're going to suck at calculus. So that means I'm going to make this a whole lot smaller. And that's going to give us 1 minus 3. And what's 1 minus 3? Negative 2. And then on top, you got a cluster, so let's go ahead and do the FOIL method. Actually, you've got shortcut number 2. Somebody help me out. Isn't that shortcut number 2? Which is going to be 1 squared minus 2 square root of 3 plus 3. Somebody check me out and make sure I got that right. 3 plus 1 is 4 minus 2 square root of 3 over negative 2 -2 plus square root of 3. Somebody check me. Make sure I did the math right. Let me check my notes. I don't know why I don't use them. -2 plus square root of 3. That's a good test question. All right, who has questions? All right, so how many questions you expecting on the test Thursday?
15.
About 15. What identities are those? Is this pre-test going to cover? Well, name some of the identities. I'm sorry, what?
I thought you were like asking which chapters.
Which identities are they going to cover? Pythagorean, yes. What else?
Sum to product.
Sum to product, yes.
Sorry.
Sum to difference, yes.
Difference identity.
The reciprocal identities, yes.
Half angle.
Basically all the identities we've covered in 9.1 through 9.3. Okay? I'm going to give you some short ones and easy ones like we had, and I'm going to give you some more difficult ones with algebra like we've had. The only thing you need to bring to class is the identity sheet. Where do you find the identity sheet? You Google. Let's write that down because somebody will break an anvil with a banana and won't be able to find it. So let's go ahead and write that down. You go to Trig Identity and Cheat Sheet. Google Trig Identity Cheat Sheet. And which one do you look for? The green and white one. Somebody will not do it right, but green and white. It's got all the identities on the front of that page. Make sure you print that green and white one out. Okay? All right, so y'all come in Wednesday. 1, you're going to see what's going to be on the test. 2, you're going to see how good you are and if you got the speed and technique down to finish the test in the 50 minutes. And then 3, see how you're going to do on the test I'm going to give you Tuesday. All right, y'all have a good week, good day. See y'all Thursday. Consider this a time to go out and study.